Hey, deserving listeners, Angela and Michael, let's watch.
No,
didn't.
I spoke up,
I
no.
walked up on you telling her I will change. I am who I am and you take it or leave it.
Will you calm down?
I'm
Reduce your
calm.
voice. Will you calm down?
I'm
Reduce
not
your voice?
lowering. You can lie all day in a calm voice and I can get upset when you make me upset and talk loud. Because that's my culture.
Wow, she just summed up the whole dynamic problem in their relationship in one sentence. She said, you can talk quietly and lie to me, and I'm going to talk loud and I'm going to be aggressive because that is, my situation. That's what that's the problem is as you get aggressive and as he gets quiet and deceptive, the two of you trigger each other and it gets out of control, which is what's happening right now. Now, I don't know how deceptive he has been, but she has a complaint, which is valid. I don't think it needs to be communicated in this hyper-aggressive way, but she has a valid complaint that he wasn't speaking up. When the aunt was saying what she was saying, he wasn't saying, whoa, hey, I get you, aunt, that you want her to be that way, but I don't want her to be that way. I know what I'm getting into, and I respect our culture, but I'm choosing to be 50-50. I'm going to stand on my own 2 feet, and I'm going to be a man, and I'm going to assert myself, but I'm not going to be dominant over her, and it's going to be 50-50. We're going to work stuff out together. But because of his personality and the way he comes across and how he is reserved and I think generally afraid to speak his mind to anyone, then that hurts Angela because she now feels like he's not showing evidence that he is on board with what she wants. Now, a more healthy way for Angela to say this in this moment would be something like, so when we were talking with your aunt, she was saying her piece and you were being okay. You were saying 50-50, which I appreciate, but I wish you would have stood up to her more because it kind of puts me in this position of having to push back on her, which I don't want to do. So can we talk about that? Because it's really annoying to me that I have to stick up for us and what we decided it was going to be 50-50. And I feel like I'm always the one having to defend that instead of you. Why do I have to fight with your aunt? Why don't you talk with her about this? It's a total valid conversation there. But one, you don't have to scream and yell and insult and literally over talk him. And anyway, let's just see how they work it out here.
I don't sit back here and pretend to be who the I'm not. I haven't from day one. Michael never spoke up for me one damn time and said, no, she's not going to be submissive. We're going to be 50-50. He did not do that. That is not who I want to be married to. I think he needs to get married to his family and let me take my ass right back home to America.
So she has said something along these lines many, many times, which, as I said a long time ago, I don't recommend people use this way of communicating. If it's serious and you're saying, look, I'm done, or I'm very close to being done, then absolutely, share that thought and speak your mind. But through evidence of her behavior, I don't think any of us believe that she actually wants to leave in this moment. So it's not helpful to talk like that. It's when we don't trust other people to hear us, we will use perhaps exaggeratory language as a way of trying to convince other people to listen to us. And maybe the two of them have a dynamic like that where and she's even stated this, she says, the reason why I escalate is because you don't listen if I don't escalate, which is actually possible. But it's a tactic that we use. If we were to be more upfront and to say, look, I'm just really sad and it hurts me when you do that and I really wish you would do X, Y, and Z. But if we don't trust that the other person will hear us, if we don't trust the other person will care, if we don't trust the other person will register the importance in their heart, then we will escalate sometimes as a way of trying to emphasize something to someone else. And I think that's what she does. But it's not helpful because I think it pushes him away. I think it draws him even further inside of himself, gives him more motivation to be passive-aggressive and deceitful with her. So if I were there, I'd say, I get it. You really want something and you deserve that. And I've been with couples through this process. And if I validate their wants, then they usually calm down and they're able to communicate it in a more functional way.
Listen, get your ass, get your out and go to your mama's.
Don't talk like that.
Do you think you can tell me what to do?
This submissive of a thing is
I'm
it
not
hasn't.
doing it. You can't make me.
I don't know exactly what they're talking about in this moment, but it's a big mistake for Angela to equate him asserting himself and asking her to please stop yelling at him with him asking her to be submissive. I think this is a big problem in this relationship because I think it's very tempting, given the way that Angela sees the world and given the dynamic of the cultures, for her to interpret any communication from Michael. So in this moment, we have Angela being very aggressive and very hostile with him, which I don't think anyone would think was fair. She can speak from her heart and she can be upset, but to essentially verbally bully someone is just not okay. And in this moment, he, I think, has had his limit, and I think he is trying to push back, and he's just saying, he's raising his voice too, and not to her level, but he's raising his voice. And under other circumstances, it might be an alert to Angela of like, oh, I guess I'm pushing his buttons. But I think for her, she equates 50-50 or even moments where he's like saying, hey, you need to listen to me now. Okay, I've listened to you yell at me. Now you need to listen to me. I think she equates that with, I'm not going to be submissive. So I think she might have some traumas around submissiveness because the way she talks to people essentially makes them submissive to her. And we've seen her do this with a lot of people on the show, not only Michael, but during the tell-alls. She'll stand over people. She'll put hands on people. She'll get in their faces. She'll tell them to shut up. That is making other people submissive. That is the opposite of submissive. That is being dominant and domineering and unfair and bullying. And so she is so sensitive to 50-50. Now she's triggered in this moment. She's scared. She's upset. She's capable of being differentiated. Let's see if she can rein it in.
And that's it.
Listen.
You can't make me.
You and I know. You and I know us together.
I don't know who you are. I don't know who you are. I
The husband and wife, 50-50.
Who you are. Do you get me?
So sometimes you'll hear me mention that when I would be treating a couple, and I learned early in my career, maybe in the first year of my internship, because I would have couples like this that would just be screaming at each other. In fact, it became so prevalent because I specialized in couples and have my whole career. But so when I worked in an agency, they gave me a lot of couples. And so I gained the reputation at my agency for having extremely loud couples yelling at each other all the time. To the point where they actually put me in an outbuilding. There were two buildings, and they put me in the building with the domestic violence team and the chemical dependency team because their clients only came in every once in a while. They put me away from the regular offices with all the therapy that was 9 to 5. But anyway. So I'm really quite used to this, and I learned early in my career that there was this point where couples will cross a line and they're not being constructive. And I would notice this in my own life in relationships where that you cross a line, and they've definitely crossed a line where there's nothing good that is happening in this moment. They're just trying to win. They're both activated. They're not listening. They don't care. They're trying to hurt each other, and just nothing good happens in a situation like this. There's nothing constructive that can happen, even if you made a good point. If you did it in this mode, if you did it in this state, it's just not going to help. So I just want to point that out, that they're just screaming at each other and they're trying to hurt each other.
You understand?
Are you getting me?
You and I,
Get your hand down from my face.
Stop all this.
Because
You
you'll
are
get
doing.
your ass whooped today.
You to put your hands down.
Make me. Make me.
Put your hands down.
Make me. Make me.
Put your.
Yikes. I mean, what is happening? So I have some sort of yikes scale. I think the highest was a 3. I don't know if this yikes scale makes any sense, but whatever is the top end of this yikes scale, there we are. This is a 3 yikes. They have had this conversation many times. So this isn't a revelation that he comes from a culture where they want him to be dominant. There's been multiple conversations about this. He and her sat down with his aunt, and the aunt was saying that men are dominant in our culture. And he reaffirmed to Angela, no, we are 50-50. But I guess to Angela, which is fine, he didn't speak up enough. Okay. So that's her complaint. Is it the end of the world? I don't think many of us would think it would. It is. Is it an indication that he doesn't love her, that he doesn't intend on being 50-50? I think he has proven over the years that he is fine with not only being 50-50, but with being the submissive one. I mean, if anyone is submissive in this relationship, it is him. So he has proven himself over time. And one conversation with an aunt where he doesn't affirmatively frequently stand up for that point of view, I don't think is evidence that he is scamming her for something. Who knows? Maybe he is scamming her. It's hard to know, but there's no evidence of that. I don't think Angela has that. And Angela has repeatedly calmed down after moments like this and said, yes, I want to be with him. I love him. She's able to calm down. She's able to have but anyway, so she gets triggered. She wanders off. Okay, it's not the best way to deal with it. And he meets up with her later, and she immediately starts to lay into him. And I can't really understand what he's saying, but I think he's not saying terrible things from what I can tell. He's trying to actually explain himself or something instead of just taking it. I think he's actually trying to explain something and saying, I'm not going to let her just overpower me. I don't think she's really listening to him. And so as he's escalating and trying to assert himself, she is escalating even further. I think if he had just listened like in the past and been submissive and just taken it, which isn't fair to him, but that's usually what it does. I think she only goes so high with him. But she definitely has to be dominant, I think, in these situations. Anyway, so he's trying to assert himself, and she's going through the roof now, where she is threatening. I don't know if you caught it, but she threatened violence, which is not okay. She is now getting violent with him with the table. Is this going to come to blows? I don't know, but all for what? All for the complaint that she has that he didn't speak up enough, even though he did affirmatively state, look, 50-50, I agree, you're not going to be submissive. Now, she has questions about how truthful he is about that. One, because he has stated differently to other people in his culture, and two, he has lied before. He has admitted to that. And that's okay. She can have those worries. She can have those concerns. She can have that. She can be upset about that. But threatening violence and, where this is headed it's interesting. And again, people don't usually shoot themselves in the foot because they want to. They do this because of a defense that they developed that they needed to have when they were younger because of dire circumstances that they were under that required this. So the way to look at this is either in the past or in her childhood, in her past adult life or in her childhood, she needed this defense. There was some situation that was so terrible that she needed to be like this in order to keep safe. And she is now applying that defense in a situation that she doesn't need to.
I want a new man. I don't want you no more. That's how it is. That was the end.
I'm sorry.
I'm going to a hotel.
I am sorry.
And me too.
Okay, please, please.
The wedding's off.
Listen now, you don't understand what...
I don't have to. I'm not marrying and that's the end of it. And I'm not playing.
At some point, you have to ask, what does Michael feel about all this? How does he feel? This has got to hurt. This has got to hurt and be very concerning to him. But he always comes to this place where he apologizes and we've seen this before in other relationships on this show. Now, there's another possibility, and I've seen this before, where the Michaels of the world will say, look, I love my partner. I know that my partner can be very hot-headed, and I know from the outside it looks really bad, but I know them. I know my partner, and I know that when they get upset, they say things they don't really mean. And they apologize the next day. So in this moment, I hear my partner, I see what's happening, but I'm pretty sure they're going to calm down the next day, and I just have to trust that. There are a lot of people that are like that. So maybe Michael's like that. I don't know.
When you do me wrong, I'm not supposed to bend over and let you put a in me. When you do something wrong, I'm supposed to cook your meal. Bitch, who do you think I am? I'm an American. What makes you think y'all are God over here as men? Y'all ain't God, you're far from it. The only person that gets bowed down to like that is one man, one spirit, is Jesus.
So now he is resorting to his coping style that I think he's more familiar with, which is to just be quiet and take it. I think he knows if I let her rant, eventually she will calm down. And there's no use in saying anything to her in this moment because it'll just be fuel in the fire, which is very unfortunate dynamic. Now, maybe for Mike, he's like, yeah, I get it. I don't take it personally, but it'd be hard not to take this personally.
And if you think for 1 minute I'm going to sit there and agree with her about bowing down to a man, you think again.
Now, there is nothing wrong with Angela stating that. There's nothing wrong with Angela saying, hey, honey, if you think I'm going to be submissive, that ain't going to happen. Nothing wrong with that. Totally fine. But in this manner of standing over someone, not letting them talk, not listening to them, because I'm pretty sure he would say, I agree with you. I'm on board. I've been with you for years now, and I know that we're going to the United States, and I'm on board with that. Now, maybe he's deceptive. Maybe he is thinking, I'll change her later. Once we're married, I'll figure it out. I have a hard time imagining that he thinks that because how could he possibly believe that he would be able to trick her into something and start dominating her? Like, yeah, I'll get her to do what I want. I don't think anyone thinks that they could get Angela to submit under any circumstances. So I have a hard time believing that he would be like that. But so again, the message that Angela has and the feelings of worry that she has are totally fine. How do we communicate it, though? Now, as an exercise, imagine that Angela was a man, an American white man, and we had a person from Nigeria, a woman, and we had a man standing over his fiancée, his woman, and yelling at her and not letting her talk and just screaming at her and using terrible words. I think we would see that for what it is. And I don't know. I guess I'm curious. Do people see Angela as the way that I'm seeing it? I wonder if people think, yeah, I agree with Angela, without seeing the delivery as the problem. Again, the message or the value that Angela has, totally fine. But the delivery is just not okay. Physical bullying, verbal bullying, emotional bullying, not okay.
I think there's kind of some misunderstanding. I'm taking submissive as make your husband happy, make your wife happy. I don't want any issues. I just want a peaceful and successful marriage. And that's it.
That's interesting. I don't know if that's true, and I don't know if I'm understanding what he's saying. But what he's saying is, I think there's a misunderstanding. I think we're using the word submissive, but actually, I think there's a better word for that won't trigger Angela, which is that we will make each other happy, that you have to work on your relationship, that you have to care about what the other person wants. And we're using the word submissive, but that's not actually I don't mean for the person to be like a slave of mine. I think happy marriages exist when people care about. Now, who knows? Maybe I'm just giving him the benefit of the doubt, but I could see that being, part of the equation.
Well, at least she's not hurting no more.
I know.
So this is a really sad moment for Angela and her family that her mother passed away. And this is something that we don't often see in reality TV, that someone actually dies in the midst of shooting the show. And I have to say, I didn't show many clips of the mom, Angela's mom, because there wasn't anything to react to. But I was watching, and I felt bad for Angela's mom. I felt bad for the family. And it looked like and it sounded like her health was an issue for a long time. But I feel like I was attached to her mom, and to think about that she died, I feel sad too. So yeah, it's a huge blow, particularly for Angela. She was the one who was primarily taking care of her mom. She was very gracious in that way, very kind daughter in that way. I think she had her mom in her own house and would take care of her all the time. At least that's the way it looked. So for Angela, this is just a huge loss for her. And Angela had a very strong bond with her mom and really loved her mom a lot. And I also think, and she's talked about this a little bit, that Angela might feel guilty for having gone to Nigeria to visit and marry Michael. And in that process, that's when her health took a turn for the worse, because she is the main person who can take care of her. She knows what to do. It sounds like the care had to be very significant, and you had to be very vigilant about doing the right things for the mom. So Angela, I'm guessing, has some kind of guilt around that. I'm guessing. I don't know. So that's got to be real rough. But anyway, it's a huge loss, and I commend the show for showing us what loss is really like and what life is really like in this way. So I think we can all grieve with the family, with Angela, and also give us an opportunity to grieve our own losses, our own bereavement. Grief and bereavement and loss, the effects of any kind of loss, whether it's death or divorce or losing a job or losing an ability, is a lifetime of feelings. So we can all connect in our way with these individuals. When I lecture on grief, the first thing that I do is I talk about I want everyone to think about their own losses and to think about the things that they're currently grieving, which can be many, many things. So I think we can use this show as an opportunity to take care of ourselves. All right, that does it for that episode in which we watch Angela and Michael in preparation for the next season of 90 Day Fiancé. Everyone out there, please take care of yourself because you deserve it. You really, really do.